when you have a triangle, each angle of the triangle has a special relationship to its opposite side. And one thing I want you to notice here, when we're doing trigonometry with triangles, a common way to label the triangles is with A, B, and C, both lowercase and capital. So what I want you to notice about this diagram is that we have angle A with a capital letter for the angle. And then if you go across the triangle to the opposite side, that's labeled with a lowercase a. You have angle B with a capital B. You go across, you have a lowercase b. Angle C with a capital C, the opposite side is labeled with a lowercase c. So you use capital letters for angles, lowercase letters for sides, and the letter of each angle corresponds to the letter of the opposite side. And so what we end up with is this proportion. So law of sine says if you take the sine of an angle and make a ratio or a fraction of that with the measure of its opposite side, that will be proportional to all the sines of the other angles divided by their opposite sides. So sine of angle A over A is equal to sine of angle B over B is equal to sine of angle C over C. So we're going to do some examples here where you can see how to use this to solve for missing sides and angles. So here's the first example. It says solve for x. Using the law of sines, we got to round to the nearest whole number, so we'll expect to get some kind of decimal out of this. So what we want to do is match up the angles and their opposite sides. So 45 or 46.5, that matches up with the x, and 39.4 matches up with the 7. So the way we would set this up is we would say a sine of 46.5 over x, we match it up with its opposite side and make a fraction, is equal to the sine of 39.4 over 7, the measure of its opposite side. And so this is a proportion. We'll solve it by cross multiplying. So I'll take the 7 and multiply it by sine of 46.5. I'll take the x and multiply it by sine of 39.4. And then to solve for x, I need to divide by sine of 39.4. And it's very important you divide by that whole thing, sine of 39.4. Don't just divide by 39.4. Divide by the whole thing. All right, so those cancel out. So I've just cross multiplied just like you would cross multiply like in middle school to solve a similar triangle problem or something like that. But now obviously I've got something that's a lot more complicated, and I need a decent calculator to work this out. I'm going to use the Google calculator because that's what I've got handy, and that's what everybody has available. So you are free to use other scientific calculators for this. But what I had was 7 times sine of 46.5 divided by sine of 39.4. Now, before I hit enter and work this out, I need to make sure I'm dealing in the right thing. So my angles are measured in degrees. I don't have like radians in this problem. And we're mainly dealing with degrees in this lesson. So right here, there's this button on the Google calculator, and you'll see radians is in black, degrees is in gray. I want to hit that button, and now it put degrees in black and radians in gray. So now this is set in degrees because that's what I want to use. So now I'm just going to hit equal, and I get 7.9996. So we are rounding to the nearest whole number. So when we do that, we are going to get x equals 8 because it was 7.99 whatever. Now that seems pretty reasonable. You always want to make sure your answer is reasonable. If the left side of this triangle is 7, it makes sense that the right side is 8. And you also know one thing you learn in geometry is longer sides are across from larger angles. So we would expect the side that's across from 46.5 to be a little bit bigger than the side that's across from 39.4.